Hello hockey fans and welcome back to NHL Replayed, the series where we use the power of video games to replay the last 2 decades of NHL history. You guys seemed to really enjoy last week's video and you clearly wanted me to make another episode in this series, so here I am to give the people exactly what they want. Aren't I lovely? If you have somehow stumbled upon this video and you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, then I suggest you go and watch this video first, as everything will make a lot more sense to you moving forwards. But if you would rather stick around on this video instead, essentially I am playing through each of the last 20 NHL video games that were released by EA Sports, starting with NHL 2003, since that's the earliest one that I own, to see whether a simulation of the season that every game was made for somehow differs from what actually took place that year. Not only that, I am also documenting all of the important information from every single season we replay, including team records, final standings, award winners, playoff performances, and cup champions, in order to determine whether we have accurately replicated the last 2 decades of NHL history, whether we have created the most alternate reality imaginable, or whether we end up falling somewhere in between. I mean, during the first episode we started a brand new alternate timeline that could only ever happen in an NHL video game, so I'm really interested to see what happens in this second episode, you know. But anyway, in today's episode, we're going to pick up right where we left off and play through the sophomore season of our simulation. So join me as we replay the 2003-2004 NHL season. Now before we jump into NHL 2004, let's take a look at what actually happened during the 03-04 season. Running from October 8th, 2003 and concluding on June 7th, 2004, the 03-04 NHL season saw 30 different teams play an 82-game regular season schedule, with the top 8 teams from either conference securing a place in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. And how did the regular season play out, I hear you ask? Well, in the Eastern Conference, the Tampa Bay Lightning took the number 1 seed, while Boston, Philadelphia and Toronto took the 2nd, 3rd and 4th seeds. The Ottawa Senators came in 5th place, and then the final 3 playoff berths went to New Jersey in 6th, Montreal in 7th, and the New York Islanders in 8th. And then the teams that didn't make the playoffs, the Buffalo Sabres in 9th, the Atlanta Thrashers in 10th, Carolina and Florida in 11th and 12th, the New York Rangers in 13th, penultimately the Washington Capitals in 14th, and at the bottom of the Eastern Conference in 15th place, the Pittsburgh Penguins. And from the Western Conference, the Detroit Red Wings took the number 1 seed, while San Jose, Vancouver and Colorado took 2nd, 3rd and 4th, then Dallas took 5th and Calgary took 6th, while the final 2 playoff berths went to the St. Louis Blues in 7th and the Nashville Predators in 8th. And then the teams that didn't make the playoffs were the Edmonton Oilers in 9th place, the Minnesota Wild in 10th place, LA in 11th, Anaheim in 12th, Phoenix in 13th, and then Columbus in 14th, and lastly Chicago in 15th. And who won each of the league's various awards once the regular season was over? Well, the President's Trophy was awarded to the Detroit Red Wings, thanks to them posting a 48, 21, 11 and 2 record. Remember, there were ties in the NHL at this point in time, which was good enough for 109 points on the season. The Red Wings were dominant during the late 90s and early 2000s, and they managed to capture yet another President's Trophy as the top team in the NHL at the end of the regular season. Now, the Art Ross Trophy and the Hart Memorial Trophy were once again given to the same player, but this time they were both awarded to Martin St. Louis of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who finished the year with 38 goals and 94 points in 82 regular season games. Interestingly, the 03-04 season was the first time in several decades where there was no 100-point scorers across the entire NHL. Not a single player hit triple digits in the season, and yeah, you can see why people didn't like the dead puck era. There was a severe lack of scoring. It would have been nice to see somebody hit triple digits, you know. But anyway, the Rocket Rashad Trophy for the most goals during the regular season was actually shared between 3 different players this year, since it was won by Rick Nash of the Columbus Blue Jackets during just his sophomore year in the league, Ilya Kovalchuk of the Atlanta Thrashers, and Jarome Iginla of the Calgary Flames, since this trio all scored 41 goals that year, with Nash potting 57 points in 80 regular season games, Kovalchuk scoring an impressive 87 points in 81 games, while Iginla scored 73 points in 81 games too. Now, the James Norris Memorial Trophy for the best defenseman was handed to Scott Niedermayer of the New Jersey Devils, who finished the season with 14 goals and 54 points in 81 regular season games. The Vezina Trophy, given to the best goaltender, was once again handed to Martin Brodeur of the New Jersey Devils, who posted a 38, 26 and 11 record, a 2.03 goals against average, and a .917 save percentage in 75 regular season games. He missed like 7 games that season, or a backup played 7 games. Just goes to show you what workhorses those goaltenders were, you know. Now, the Calder Memorial Trophy, given to the Rookie of the Year, was also handed to a goaltender, as it was awarded to Andrew Raycroft of the Boston Bruins, thanks to his impressive 29, 18 and 9 record, his 2.05 goals against average, and his .926 save percentage in 57 regular season games. Now, Raycroft didn't really pan out in the NHL in the years that followed this win, but given that he put up some pretty impressive numbers for the Boston Bruins as a rookie netminder in the league, he was more than deserving of the Calder Trophy, you know. Penultimately, the Jack Adams Award for the best head coach in the NHL was awarded to John Tortorella of the Tampa Bay Lightning, since he led Tampa to a 46, 22, 8 and 6 record for 106 points on the year, as well as the second best record across the entire National Hockey League. But yeah, John Tortorella, remember when he was coaching the Tampa Bay Lightning? Feels like a lifetime ago, you know? And finally, the Lady Byng Trophy, given to the most gentlemanly player in the league, was also awarded to a Tampa Bay Lightning member in Brad Richards, since he scored 79 points and only racked up 12 penalty minutes in 82 regular season games. So not only did he play every single game that year and avoid any major injuries, and almost go a point per game for the entire season, he only sat in the penalty box on 6 different occasions. That's a gentlemanly player, folks. But what happened during the playoffs? Who won the 2004 Stanley Cup? Well, after exactly 2 months of fierce competition, Tampa Bay would be the victors, as the Lightning defeated the Calgary Flames in 7 games in the finals to clinch their first championship in franchise history. It was kind of a controversial series, especially during Game 6, and Calgary Flames haven't forgotten about it since, but nonetheless, Tampa take the victory, get their hands on their first cup. Not a bad season if you ask me, folks. Not only that, Lightning forward Brad Richards, who had just taken home the Lady Byng, would also take home another individual award, as he also earned the 2004 Conn Smythe Trophy given to the playoff MVP, thanks to him potting a league-leading 26 points in just 23 postseason games. So not only was he the most gentlemanly player in the league, he also came up pretty clutch during the postseason. So now that we know what actually happened during the 03-04 season, let's jump into NHL 2004 and see how our simulation plays out. Oh, this is gonna be fun! So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, NHL 2004. Oh, the nostalgia is really hitting me, folks. For those of you who've been watching my channel for a while, you'll already know that NHL 2004 was the primary reason I started following the sport of hockey and the reason I really got into the NHL. So the fact that I'm getting the chance to come back and play this game again, oh, I'm so happy, folks. For context, I'm playing the GameCube version of this game. Typically, I play the PC version of the game. That's the one that I played growing up, but the music in this game shaped a lot of my music taste in the years that followed up until now, but yeah, for the sake of copyright and the sake of not being claimed, I've decided to turn that off as well. Now, usually I typically do a Dynasty mode. I love Dynasty mode in this game, but I think I'm going to go for a season mode, considering we're only going to play the one season, the 03-04 season. Let's go with season mode. CPU trading is going to be off, and injuries are going to be off as well. To be honest, I don't think we really need to have them on. Yes, it makes it slightly more realistic, but I don't think we're ever going to truly replicate what actually happened in NHL history. So if we turn the injuries off, we give every team the best chance possible, it stays consistent with last episode, and everyone's happy, you know? Since we went with the Stanley Cup champion last episode, I think it's only right that we do the same again, and I said it was going to be the way that we go through, and I think it's the best way to do it, to be honest. We're going to play as the eventual Stanley Cup champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Will this hurt their simulation and mean that they absolutely do terribly and they don't make it through? I guess we'll have to find out. But let's see. So here we are in the Season Central. This is probably the most common screen we're going to see in this video. I think the best way to start is to look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. So let's go to edit lines and see who we've got. So on the first line, scoring line 1, we have Dave Andrechuk, the captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning at the time. Vinny LeCavalier at 90 overall, and Martin St. Louis, the Hart and Art Ross winner, 88 overall. Then the second line, we have Corey Stillman with Brad Richards and Clymer. I don't know his name. Once again, there's going to be players on these rosters that I don't recognise their name, so Clymer it is. The checking line 3, we have Modine 84 overall with Taylor and Alexiev. And then on the fourth line, we have Roy or War, depending on where he comes from, Svitov and Ruslan Fedotenko, the hero of this Stanley Cup run. His goals late in the Stanley Cup finals came up pretty clutch for this team. Then the defensive pairings, we have Pavel Kubina with Dan Boyle. God, remember when Dan Boyle was a Tampa Bay Lightning? Then we have Brad Lukovic with Cody Saric, I believe. 74 overall as the second pair left defenseman isn't too good. And then you have Pratt with Cullimore on the third defensive pair. Then you've got all the power play lines and penalty kill lines. I just want to check the goaltending. Here we go. Nikolai Habibulin, 93 overall, with Graham as the backup netminder at 83 overall. Not a bad roster if you ask me, some solid scoring. Maybe the defensive depth isn't too strong, but I'll take it, folks. So let's just get started, shall we? Let's open up that calendar and see what the start of our 03-04 season looks like. Now, one thing that I really like that EA Sports have added into this game compared to NHL 2003 is the fact that you can actually simulate multiple games through the calendar. No longer do you have to simulate game by game and it takes about 4,000 years to do it. You can now block simulate games through the calendar. EA Sports, I don't typically compliment you on things, but nice job with that, guys. Now, for those of you who don't know how I do this, typically I like to simulate through the first 10 games of the regular season and then check in with the team, see where we're at in the regular season standings as well as the player stats on the team. Then I like to simulate the next 10 games of the season, so we're 20 games in and then check in with the team. Then I like to play the next 21 games of the season, so we're exactly halfway through the schedule at 41 games out of 82. Once again, check in with the team, see where they're at in the standings and the player stats on the team as well. Then I like to go up until the trade deadline, which obviously we're not doing the trade deadline in this series, but that's kind of the 3-quarter mark in the season, and then simulate to the end of the regular season and then do the playoffs after that if they're necessary. So I guess we better start by playing the first 10 games of the regular season. We start with a home opener against the Boston Bruins. Can the Tampa Bay Lightning get off to a hot start in the 03-04 season? I guess we'll have to wait and see, folks, but I'll simulate the first 10 games. I'll catch you again in a minute, guys. So the first 10 games are in the books, and the Tampa Bay Lightning actually played really well to start the year. If we look at the month of October, they went on a 5-game winning streak after losing the home opener. They lose a game against San Jose, and then they get 2 wins in their next 3. So a really good start here for the Lightning on this season. Let's see how they compare to the rest of the teams in the conference. For some reason, when you click on the standings, it does the NHL standings as a total, does the Western Conference, then it does all the different divisions in the Western Conference, and then does the Eastern Conference. I'm not too sure about that, and the Tampa Bay Lightning in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. They have less games played than every other team around them, and they have a 7-2-1 record in their first 10 games for 15 points on the year. So New Jersey is currently in 1st place with Boston in 2nd and us in 3rd. 12 points in 10 games for Vinny Lecavalier is leading our team, but tied Dave Andrechuk, so the captain leading by example. But Lecavalier, 9 goals in his first 10 games of the season. If he keeps up that pace for the rest of the year, he's going to be winning the Rocket. It's highly unlikely, of course, but a man can dream, right? And then Pavel Kubina, we've got a blue liner going a point per game as well. Martin St. Louis, the least productive player on the first line, and he's got 9 points in 10 games. And then Corey Stillman rounds out the top 5 with 9 points in 10 games also. Let's take a look at the goalies as well, just to see how well they're doing. So Habibulin has played all 10 games. He had to come in relief of Graham, who allowed 6 goals in his first game of the season. But Habibulin, a 1.73 goals against average, a 7-2-1 record, and a 9.23 save percentage. Guy, you keep up stats like that, Habibulin, you're going to be winning the Vezina. I think we should just simulate through the next 10 games. I believe that brings us up to the end of November, and see if we've managed to keep up the momentum. Things are looking good. Tampa, can you keep it up for the next 10 games? I guess we'll find out. See you again after the next 10 games, folks. We're 20 games into the season now, and it looks like the Lightning pretty much went 500 during that last 10-game stretch. They got a couple of wins, they strung together a couple of wins, but they also lost their fair amount of games as well. We are currently in 9th place. Okay, wow. Now, to be fair, we have only played 20 games, and there are teams that have played 4 or 5 games more than us. But how does that stack up with points? We've got 25 points on the year with a 12-7-1 record, so no overtime losses so far this season. 25 points. Considering we've got several games in hand, we could easily jump up to 5th place where Buffalo are if we manage to string together a couple of wins. But Philadelphia, Boston, and Washington are leading the Eastern Conference. And in the Western Conference, we have the Detroit Red Wings, obviously the actual President's Trophy winners, Colorado and Dallas leading there. So let's take a look at the NHL first, see who's leading after 20 games. Kozlov has 38 points in 26 games. Olli Jokinen with 36 in 26. Brett Hull with 36 and 25, Marcus Naslund with 35 in 25, Vincent Lecavalier still leading the team with 28 points in 20 games, 19 goals in 20 games this year. Vincent Lecavalier, a quarter of the way through the season, is averaging a goal a game. Keep going at it, buddy. I want to see you win the Rocket. That'd be great. Then Dave Ondrachuk with 27 points and St. Louis with 22 points. Then it's Stillman, Boyle, Kubina with 14 points each. So a bit of a drop-off after that top line, but thankfully the top line is playing absolutely clutch and getting the job done for us. We've got Habibulin with a 228 goals against average. Graham's played another game and brought it down to 375. And we've got a 900 save percentage for Habibulin, a 12-6-1 record so far this year, whereas Graham has an 8-2-1 save percentage. So I think it's time that we simulate up until the halfway point of the 03-04 NHL season. This is going to be make or break, I think, for the Tampa Bay Lightning. If they can go on a really good run during the month of December, string together some more wins, the top line keeps playing clutch like they have all year long so far, we might be sitting in a playoff berth. Got a couple of games in hand, we really need to make those count, right? So I'll see you again at the halfway point, guys. We're halfway through the 03-04 NHL season now, and I think it's fair to say that the Lightning have played 500 hockey at best, and kind of disappointing hockey at worst. As you can see in the month of December, not exactly the best run for us. A 4-game losing streak. We won a couple of games here and there against Toronto, Dallas, Atlanta, but several ties, several losses. Hopefully some of them were overtime losses. So the Tampa Bay Lightning hold the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference right now, which is pretty good considering the record we had there. Philadelphia, Boston, and the Atlanta Thrashers are currently sitting in the top 3 of the conference, but with a 19-15-4-2 record, 44 points on the season, the Tampa Bay Lightning are in playoff position. They have 3 points up on the Washington Capitals, and considering they have 3 games in hand, that's really helpful. And if they string together some of those wins, they should be able to jump up to at least 6th place. And then in the Western Conference, you've got Dallas, Detroit in 2nd place, which is quite surprising. Then the Colorado Avalanche in 3rd place as well. Obviously, we'll look through the entire regular season standings once we get towards the end of the season. Player stats, let's take a look at the points. So 64 points in 42 games for Murray. I assume that's Glenn Murray. I'm not entirely sure though. I'm going to say Glenn Murray. 64 and 42, 29 goals. Then Naslund with 60 and 43. Brett Hull, a 30-goal season already with 58 and 44. Joe Thornton with 58 and 42. And Jaromir Jagr, the ageless one, finishing up the top 5 with 55 points and 43. Although McGillney and Nolan also have that much. And let's see how the rest of the Lightning are doing. So obviously Lecavalier has 45 points. In 40 games. Ondrachuk with 43 and 40, and St. Louis with 40 and 40. So still that top line's getting it done. And then after that, there's a huge drop-off from the second line downwards. 26 and 40, 25 and 40 for Kubina. But thankfully, our top pair's getting a fair amount of points as well. 25 and 25 for Kubina and Boyle. 2.66 goals against average for Habibulin, and a 2.40 goals against average for Graham in 5 games. An 18-16-3 record for Habibulin, a 1-1-1 record for Graham, and a save percentage of 8.92 for Graham and 8.88 for Habibulin. So I guess we should simulate the next 20 games of the season or so, get ourselves to kind of the 3-quarter mark and see where Tampa Bay are at. Hopefully they manage to string together a few more wins, but will they be able to do so, or will they fall out of a playoff berth and be looking more at the draft lottery? I guess we'll have to find out, folks. See you again in a minute. So we're now 3/4 of the way through the season. We've played 62 out of 82 of our games in the calendar, and we did pretty well during that last little stretch. Once again, we're kind of playing 500 hockey. As you can see, the month of February, we went on a 3-game winning streak, but we had several ties and losses as well. And then the rest of the month of January, we had a pretty good run during the mid-January. We had 4 wins in 5 games, and then we had a 3-game winning streak after that. We are 3rd place in the Eastern Conference, ladies and gents. Oh, okay, this is pretty good. I wasn't expecting to be that high, but I will take it. So Philadelphia, Boston, and our Tampa Bay Lightning take the top 3 spots. We have 67 points on the year. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's the divisions. It's definitely the divisions that have caused it, because as you can see, we have 67 points. Washington are tied with us with 67 points, then Atlanta with 66 points. So yeah, the divisions play a big role in it, obviously. Thankfully, we're in a pretty terrible division this year, I guess, and hopefully that means that Tampa Bay can keep holding on and keep taking that playoff berth. And then in the Western Conference, Detroit have reclaimed their top spot. Then Colorado and Dallas are taking second and third. 98 points in 62 games for Glenn Murray. I'm assuming it's Glenn Murray, obviously. Thornton in second. Jaromir Jagr with 83 and 61. Alexei Kovalev, our previous MVP from our last simulation, 81 and 61. Then Ryan Smith and Marcus Naslund with 80 points to round that out. Who's leading in the goal scoring? Smith with 45 goals on the season. And as you can see, Vinny Lecavalier isn't there, so it kind of looks like he's dropped off over the last few games. But we're in third place in the division, so you can't complain. And then for the Tampa Bay Lightning, let's take a look at who's got the most points. Vincent Lecavalier again, 61 points in 60 games, 33 of which are goals. Andrechuk with 59 and 60, and St. Louis with 54 and 60. So that first line has kind of slowed down a little bit. All of them were well over a point per game during the first 10-20 games of the season, but they've dropped off a little bit now. Then Corey Stillman has kind of risen up a little bit, 44 and 60. Dan Boyle, 40 and 60. And then Pavel Kubina with 34 and 60. 2.86 goals against average for Habibulin. Not the best, but certainly not the worst by any means. Then Graham, 10 games played, 2.46 goals against average. And then a 24, 25 and 4 record. So Habibulin is actually a losing netminder so far this season. Whereas Graham, the backup, 5-1 and 1. He's got some clutch wins for us. And then the save percentage, 8.92 for Graham and 8.80 for Nikolai Habibulin. So I think it makes sense to just simulate through the rest of our regular season schedule with 62 games out of 82. So that means we have 20 games to go. I think, to be honest, if we simulate until the day before our final contest of the regular season, which is on Saturday, the 3rd of April 2004 against the Atlanta Thrashers, we can then check the standings and see whether we've secured a playoff berth or whether this last game is the make or break, or whether we're clearly out of the playoffs by that point. So I'll see you again before the final game of the regular season. See you in a minute, folks. Oh, so it looks like we're about to sim past the trade deadline, but considering the CPU can't trade and considering we're not going to trade, it doesn't really make much of a difference. So there you go. We've reached the penultimate day of our 03-04 regular season schedule, and if we look at the month of March 2004, it's kind of a very clear indication of what our entire regular season has been like, you know. We'll go on stretches where we win 3 straight, 4 of our last 5, string together a really good run, but then in the next week we could lose 3 straight or tie a bunch of games or come really close and 1-goal losses that don't even go to overtime and we don't get a point. So let's look at the standings. Let's see where we are, guys. So already I can see that the Tampa Bay Lightning are 9th place in the NHL standings, and they haven't clinched a playoff spot because they don't have the X next to them. So the Eastern Conference, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they have 1 game left to play. They still have not secured a playoff berth, despite the fact they are currently sitting 3rd place in the Eastern Conference, thanks to their division lead. So 38, 38 and 5 record for 89 points on the regular season. I mean, if we're going based on the overall points as opposed to the division finish, we would currently be sitting 7th place in the Eastern Conference, just above Buffalo. And then Buffalo would be in 8th place as opposed to Toronto. Washington have 2 games in hand, so they could jump above us. If Washington win their last 2 games and we lose and we come like 1 or 2 points away from a playoff berth, I'm going to be so upset, ladies and gents. Imagine coming that close yet so far, right? Last game of the season against the Atlanta Thrashers, everything on the line for us. Sim through this day, please, and we win it! Yes! The first round of the playoffs has been determined, and ladies and gentlemen, the Tampa Bay Lightning are there. Let's go, boys! Yes, that's what I like to see. So if we check the regular season standings at the end of the 03-04 season, looks like they finished 3rd place. So thankfully, our last win against Atlanta managed to give us 91 points on the year. Well done, Tampa. You held on when it mattered most, and you got yourself the 3rd seed in the entire Eastern Conference. Thanks, terrible division. You've really helped us out. So it looks like the Rangers finished in 1st place. Hey, as a Rangers fan, I'll take it. Then Boston in 2nd, Tampa Bay in 3rd, Philadelphia in 4th, the New Jersey Devils in 5th, Ottawa in 6th, Buffalo in 7th, and Toronto in 8th. Then in 9th, we have Washington, 10th Atlanta, 11th the Islanders, 12th Montreal, 13th Florida, 14th Carolina, and 15th place, like in real life, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, if we compare these results to what actually happened in the Eastern Conference during the 03-04 NHL season, you'll see that the majority of the teams that made the playoffs in this simulation actually made the postseason in real life. However, I think the most surprising result out of all of this is the fact that the New York Rangers, who finished 13th place in real life in the Eastern Conference during this season, actually in this simulation finished 1st place in the entire Eastern Conference with a 50, 21 8-3 record for 111 points on the year. And on the flip side, in the Western Conference, if we compare what happened in this game to what actually happened in real life, the Detroit Red Wings sit at the top of the Western Conference standings, so the simulation was very accurate in real life to there. However, a lot of the other positions, whether it be teams that made the playoffs or teams that missed it, are vastly different. For example, Dallas finished second in our simulation. They finished fifth in the regular season standings in the Western Conference. Colorado finished third in this game. They finished fourth in real life. However, the two most interesting finishes, I think, are in ninth place, the Calgary Flames, a team that made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals that year and were one game away from lifting the trophy. They don't even make the postseason this year, so that's heartbreaking for the Calgary Flames. And also, the San Jose Sharks, they finished second place in the Western Conference standings in real life. However, in this simulation, they finished dead last in the West with a 22, 43, 12 and 5 record for 61 points on the year. I guess that's just the way the simulation goes sometimes, you know? Let's take a look at the playoff tree before we start simming the playoffs. So from the Western Conference, we have the first seed Detroit against the 8th seed Vancouver Canucks, second seed Dallas against 7th seed Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, the third seed Colorado Avalanche against the 6th seed Edmonton Oilers, and the 4th seed Nashville Predators against the 5th seed Phoenix Coyotes. And then if we look at the Eastern Conference, we have the first seed New York Rangers against the 8th seed Toronto Maple Leafs, the second seed Boston Bruins against the 7th seed Buffalo Sabres, our third seed Tampa Bay Lightning against the 6th seed Ottawa Senators, and lastly we have the 4th seed Philadelphia Flyers against the 5th seed New Jersey Devils. So let's go back to the calendar, take a look at our schedule, and we have home ice advantage against the Ottawa Senators in round 1 of the 2004 Stanley Cup Playoffs. Now, I think it makes sense if we simulate the first 2 games and see where we're at here. We are 2-0 down in our first round series against Ottawa as the 3rd seed. Now, obviously, we got there from being the top of our division, and we had a lot less points than some of the other teams that made it, but hopefully we can have a little bit better showing away. So, let's simulate game 3 of the series. We managed to win game 3, that's good. We go to game 4, we win that as well. So, Ottawa win both of the games in Tampa, we win both of the games in Ottawa. Let's go to game 5 against Ottawa. We lose that. Oh, the Tampa Bay Lightning are on the brink in round 1 of the postseason. Will they be able to hold on? No, they don't. And ladies and gentlemen, the 2004 Stanley Cup champions are none other than the Colorado Avalanche. So just like real life at the moment with the 2022 playoffs, Colorado could take home the trophy again, but in this simulation, they get it done when they didn't actually do in real life. It was a 4-game series sweep against the Ottawa Senators in the final round. So we lost to a team that made it all the way to the finals, which gives us a bit of solace in our first round loss, but still. So the Western Conference, the Detroit Red Wings swept Vancouver in the first round, a 7-game series between Anaheim and Dallas, but the Mighty Ducks just take it. Colorado, a 5-game series win against Edmonton, and then the Phoenix Coyotes managed to make it through to the second round with a 6-game series against Nashville. Then Detroit beat Anaheim in 5 games in the second round. Colorado beat Phoenix 5 games in the second round. The conference finals, Colorado-Detroit conference finals. Especially at that time period, that must have been so much fun to watch. A 5-game series victory for the Colorado Avalanche. And then over the other side, the New York Rangers managed to beat the defending Stanley Cup champion Toronto Maple Leafs, obviously within our simulation, in 5 games. A 7-game series between Boston and Buffalo. Then Tampa, obviously our team got defeated in 6 games against the 6th seed Ottawa Senators. And the 5th seed New Jersey Devils, a 5-game series victory against the Philadelphia Flyers. Then the Ottawa Senators defeated the New York Rangers in 6 games in the second round, while New Jersey beat Boston in 5 games in the second round. And then the Eastern Conference Finals, a 5-game victory against the New Jersey Devils by the Ottawa Senators. So the 5th and 6th seed make it through to the Eastern Conference Finals. And on the flip side, the 1st and 3rd seed made it through from the Western Conference Finals. So the West had the traditionally better team, and then the 3rd seed from the West goes up against the 6th seed from the East, and a 4-game series sweep. So penultimately, let's take a look at the player stats for the season and see how well everyone did, see the highest scorers from the year. And Glenn Murray with 57 goals and 73 assists for 130 points in 82 games. Sergei Fedorov with 64 goals I see down there. Oh my goodness, okay then, now we're talking, boys. In a season that didn't actually have any players reach 100 points in real life, there were 13 players who hit 100 points in this simulation. Obviously, no injuries had a good part to play in that, but still. Then Joe Thornton was the second highest scorer in the season with 115 points in 82 games. Alexei Kovalev managing to produce another solid season, 111 points in 82 games. Marcus Naslund with 110 in 82, and then Brett Hull rounding out the top 5 in points with 107 in 82. Then, like I said, with the goal scoring, Sergei Fedorov leading the league with 64 goals, 106 points in 82 games. Mario Lemieux coming up on the rear with 59 goals in 82 games and 104 points. Alexei Kovalev with 58 goals. I'm pretty sure they were on the same team that year, weren't they? Because Kovalev was with the Penguins last year. I don't think he moved, so 2 players having almost 60 goal seasons on the same team is pretty impressive. Jerome Iginla gets 58 goals, so once again he has a solid goal scoring year. And then the leading scorer, Glenn Murray, with 57 goals on the season. So Nikolai Habibulin actually played more games than any other netminder this season. He had a 2.85 goals against average, he had a 33-34-7 record, and an 8.79 save percentage. So not a bad performance for Habibulin. I don't think that'll get him the Vezina trophy. Marty Turco with 44 wins on the season. 44-20-4 record, an 8.84 save percentage, and a 2.64 goals against average. So, and what about the Tampa Bay Lightning? Well, Vinny Lecavalier with 54 goals and 94 points in 82 regular season games leads the Lightning by a pretty sizable margin both in goals and points. The captain, Dave Ondrachuk, with 87 points in 82 games, so he's over a point per game. And then Martin St. Louis, 81 points in 82 games, just under a point per game. Then Corey Stillman, 32 goals on the year, the second highest goal scorer, but 57 points in 82 games. And then defenseman Dan Boyle, 57 points, 49 of which were assists in 82 games to round out the top 5. Brad Richards had a pretty good year as well. Kubina had a good year. Saric had a pretty okay year. Nikolai Habibulin, 76 games played, a 2.85 goals against average with a 33-34-7 record and an 8.79 save percentage. And then Graham played 12 games, got a 6-1-1 record, so he's obviously pulled for a lot of them, or came in for the win at the end. He got an 8.95 save percentage and a 2.45 goals against average. So, before we go to the awards, let's take a look at the player stats from the postseason and see who led the league and helped their team go on a run. Milan Hajduk with 30 points in 19 games for the Colorado Avalanche. Daniel Alfredsson with 28 points in 21 games for Ottawa. Marian Hossa with 27 points in 21 games for Ottawa. But then Peter Forsberg and Paul Kariya with 27 and 24 respectively, and then Brett Hull rounding out the list with 23 in 14. So let's take a look at the goalies and see who did the best job here. With the wins, it's Abes-Bisha. Well, he played 15 games for the Colorado Avalanche. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Abes-Bisha? Something like that? I don't know. But he managed to get a 13-2-0 record during the postseason, a 900 save percentage in the postseason, and a 2.32 goals against average. Then the line for the Ottawa Senators, Dominic Hasek for Detroit did a pretty good job as well. Martin Brodeur and then Mike Dunham rounding out the top 5 there. And finally, last but by no means least, let's take a look at who won each of the awards. So, the Stanley Cup for the 2003-2004 season goes to the Colorado Avalanche. It's their second cup in the last 4 years, so they're making themselves a little bit of a mini dynasty in the early 2000s. The Hart Memorial Trophy to the most valuable player to his team goes to Glenn Murray, and with 130 points in 82 games, I'm not really surprised. So the Art Ross Trophy also goes to Glenn Murray. I mean, with the dominant season he had on the scoreboard, I'm not really surprised by that. So just like real life, the same player won both the Hart and the Art Ross, it just wasn't Martin St. Louis of the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Maurice Rashad Trophy goes to Sergei Fedorov of the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, because he had like 60-something goals on the season, which is incredibly impressive. The Norris Trophy for the best defenseman in the league goes to Rob Blake of the Colorado Avalanche, so unfortunately Scott Niedermayer doesn't pick up his Norris Trophy, but obviously Rob Blake had a really good season, helped lead the Avalanche to a Stanley Cup. The Calder Memorial Trophy for Rookie of the Year is handed to Matthew Garon of the Montreal Canadiens, so unfortunately Ray Croft from Boston doesn't win it. I wouldn't be surprised if he was kind of chased out of the net and he wasn't even the starter for Boston, but Garon wins it, so congratulations to him. The Vezina Trophy goes to Roman Cechmanek of the Los Angeles Kings. I hope I pronounced that name right. I really thought it would have been Marty Turco for 40 wins in 60 games, but Cechmanek clearly was the better netminder according to the players or the general managers that vote for this stuff. So the Lady Byng is awarded to Jaromir Jagr, the best sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct. So the Frank J. Selke Trophy is awarded to Matthew Barnaby of the New York Rangers, which is really interesting to me given that Barnaby was known for being quite the pest during his career. Now I'll put up on the screen right now who actually won the Selke Trophy during the 03-04 NHL season. To no surprise, the Conn Smythe Trophy given to playoff MVP was handed to Milan Hajduk of the Colorado Avalanche. And given that he vastly outscored every single other player during the postseason, every single other player on his team and who he played against, Milan Hajduk was the clear winner in my opinion. The William M. Jennings Trophy goes to Dominik Hasek. I'll put up on the screen right now who actually won it in real life, but the Bill Masterton Trophy goes to Todd White of the Ottawa Senators. I'll put up on the screen right now who actually won the Masterton because I don't have it written down here in my notes. The Lester B. Pearson Award is handed to Glenn Murray, obviously the most outstanding player by the Players Association. The Jack Adams Award for Best Coach in the NHL is handed to Tony Granato of the Colorado Avalanche. So just like real life, the coach that led their team to the Stanley Cup that year ends up winning the Coach of the Year award. And I really like that in this one they actually have the Jack Adams Award, as well as the headshots of all of the head coaches in the league. I think that's a really nice touch. I'm not sure if later games do that. I don't remember them doing so. Just another reason why NHL 2004 is the best game in the series, you know? And just like real life, folks, the Detroit Red Wings won the 2003-04 President's Trophy for having the best regular season record at the end of the year. Is this the first example we've had where a team or a player who actually won the award in real life won it in the simulation as well? I think this might be the first example of history actually repeating itself, so good job EA Sports Simulation Engine, at least you got one thing right. Then the Prince of Wales Trophy, obviously the team from the Eastern Conference that goes to the Stanley Cup Finals, was given to Ottawa, and the Clarence S. Campbell Trophy is the Colorado Avalanche, so no surprise there. And once again, we're back to the Colorado Avalanche with the Stanley Cup. So congratulations to the Avalanche for winning the 2004 Stanley Cup, and interestingly, they've actually made my thumbnail entirely correct. I made the thumbnail before I started recording this video, and I put the Colorado Avalanche on it thinking nothing of it, and they actually went and won the Stanley Cup, so kinda looks like I've spoiled the entire video in the thumbnail. I didn't really plan to, but hey, I don't think Colorado's complaining. They won the cup, so congratulations to them. And on that note, I'm going to end today's video. What do you guys think about our simulation of the 2003-2004 NHL season? Did it turn out the way that you expected it to, or was it vastly different to anything you could have predicted? Also, what do you guys think about NHL Replayed as a series on this channel? Is there anything that you'd like to see me do differently moving forwards as we head on over into NHL 2005? Obviously, I really appreciate all your feedback, both positive and constructive moving forwards, so do let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye! A big thank you to Clayton Hallam, Drew Fawcett, Houston NG, Lucas Gates, Raquel, and Worthless Pieces for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.